So right, today we're going to talk about fear. We're going to talk about limiting beliefs. We're going to talk about turning challenges and tragedies into triumphs. So let me ask you, who in this crowd, who has given up on a dream? Who has given up on something that you wanted to do because you were afraid? Say me.
Me.
All right, so for all the people that didn't raise their hands, you can just give me a nod because you're afraid to do it, right? Afraid to raise your hand. That's cool. How many of you have been sent to do something and you said, this is a good idea, I'm going to do it. I could become a millionaire. I can create the Post-it note. But then that little voice inside said, you're stupid, Jason. You can never do that. You can never make it happen. Who would want to hear from you? Who would want to hear your business ideas? Is there anybody else in the room like that? Amazing. So, and who has, in this room, has had a difficult time, has had challenges? Maybe they haven't had the perfect life. Maybe life just wasn't handed on a silver platter for them. How many people are in the room that have had some trials and tribulations? Can I say me?
Me.
You're my people. All right. So I am an expert on fear, and what I mean by that is I've lived most of my life afraid. You may not think of that now as I'm standing on the stage speaking to you, but I wasn't always this debonair guy standing on the stage speaking to you. I used to be this guy, all right? And you can see the fear, right? I hid behind my mullet and my tinted glasses. Seriously though, this guy was afraid of everything. He was afraid of meeting new people. He was afraid of people that wanted to be friendly to him. He was afraid especially of his own shadow and looking to him in the mirror. See, a lot of kids are afraid of monsters that live under their bed, right? They see monsters that are in their closet, these imaginary monsters. Some kids have real life monsters that live in their household. My monster was my father, but I called him Randy. And boy, did that piss him off. And it was the only thing I could do, even though I was afraid of everything. I had no respect for this man because I watched him abuse my mother. I watched and heard the things that he would say, the meanness, the hate that brewed from his eyes. I watched him, I would have experiences where I would be walking out of my room and I'd get grabbed and thrown on the bed and punched across the face for no apparent reason. I didn't know what was going on. Why is this man doing this? And so the only way that I could think to get under his skin, the only power that I had, was to deny that he was my father. So I called him Randy. And it got under his skin. You know what? Sometimes my mom would beg me to stop because she knew my beating would only get worse because I would antagonize him. And I sit and I look back and I've had a lot of time to reflect upon my life. I had a lot of time and I sat and thought, and you know what? That was some strength that I showed in those times. I felt like being the oldest son, that I was the protector, the defender. I was going to be there to help my mom when she was taking those beatings. I was there to step in and change things, and then I'd get the beatings myself, and what would end up happening is my mom would try to get in the way of me getting this master beating, and she would get even more, and I'd create an even bigger problem. But at the time, the only thing I could do to get under his skin was to call him Randy and to disrespect him, and so I did. But everywhere else I was afraid. Kids would come and talk to me and try to be friends with me, and I'd hide behind my mom's leg because I just didn't believe that I was good enough. Look at me, right? Not only did I have to, I also eat my feelings, and I hid behind myself, and you know what? I remember so specifically one day we were in the laundromat because we were poor, and that's how we washed our clothes, right? We're at the laundromat. My mom told me, because I just made this new friend, and I was so excited, but I was also so nervous because who would want to be friends with me, right? My mom told me, go to Chris's house, go play with them while we're doing laundry. And I remember it took me an hour to build up the courage to go to this kid's house. I was like hitting my stomach. I'm going to knock on his door, and he's going to tell me he doesn't want to play. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to have that rejection. And so I finally got the courage to go walk to his house. And I get to his house, and there's police tape around his house. His dad had committed suicide that morning. And so the time that I had actually gotten enough gumption to go out there and actually make a friend, this big tragedy happened. And so it took a little while longer to be able to overcome that. All the abuse that we took, all the punches to the face, all the verbiage, all the you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, all of that stuff, I would take it and be fine with it. The most damaging thing my father ever did is I had a hero. My hero, the male figure in my life that was my hero was my grandpa. My grandpa was so strong, and he had all these friends, and he came from nothing, and yet he kept on getting elevated and promoted in his work. And when I looked at him, I saw a leader. I saw someone that people revered. I saw someone with so much strength. And while my grandpa was alive, the beatings didn't get that bad, because I knew my father was afraid of him. So when my grandpa got cancer, I believed in everything in my body that my grandpa was too strong to die from cancer. I believed in everything. The whole family did. We did not believe that cancer was going to take him. And he put a smile on his face every day, and he went out there and he lived his life and hung on for as long as possible. But I'll never forget the day I got picked up from school by my father, and it was like the expression on his face was like he was going to tell me that he won a trip to Disney World, and he was taking us all on to Disney World. He was so excited. I thought something good had happened. And then he looked at me, and it was like giddiness in his eyes, and just this hate filled in his eyes. And he told me, "Your grandpa's a goner. The cancer, the tumor, has went to his brain, and he only has a few days to live." The way that I found out my hero was going to die was by the man that I hated and just hated. And he caused so much pain, but this is the biggest pain that he ever caused. And when my grandpa passed away on Valentine's Day in 1991, things got even worse. And it kind of accumulated and kind of took its head on Easter that year. My grandma was over at the house, and tensions were kind of boiling, and my father was going off in kind of a manic rage, and my grandma left, and the abuse got bloody. And he attacked my mom, and he was beating my mom, and so I jumped in, and then he was beating me, and my mom, in the meantime, went to go call 911, and he ran up to her and pulled the phone away from her and started beating her with the phone. Sometimes the worst things happen in your life, and they were there for a reason, right? It was about to be my birthday in May. It was going to be my 12th birthday. And I remember even saying, I don't need birthday gifts. I don't need a celebration. I don't need a party. We need to leave. We need to get out. No matter what happens, we need to get out of this place. And my mom pulled the strength together. A single mom, no job. She didn't know what she was going to do to support us. But one day, while he was gone out of the house, she went and packed all of her stuff, and we moved in with my grandma. And it was the most amazing day. I was so happy because we were free. And you know what? So this is my first lesson. Sometimes in life, we wait for the perfect opportunity. We're always waiting for the perfect circumstances, the perfect set of things to happen. I can't go be a speaker because I don't have enough material. It's things I've told myself, right? Nobody wants to hear from me, and so I've got to put a better plan together. We can't have kids right now because we're not stable enough. We can't be promoted to leadership because I haven't done this and this and this. We all hold ourselves back because the time is not right. You know what? The time was not right. But the first thing to do in order to get yourself out of problems is to take that first step. They say it takes 20 days to create a habit. That's actually not even true. It takes one time of doing something every single day in order to make it happen. My mom may not have had a complete plan. She didn't know what she was going to do. She had two kids that she had to raise on her own. She had to find a job. She went to school. She did these things in order to make our lives better. And it started us on this road of healing. It didn't happen right away. But you know what? I started to see the light. She got me help. She plugged in. She did everything she could. She was so strong. And I saw that, and it set such a good example of what I wanted to be. I wanted to be that strong. And I want to take those steps. And so I did what I needed to do to get better. And by the time I became a senior in high school, I started to find confidence. I found teachers that believed in me, that found some of my talents in writing, and they promoted me and told me to keep in pursuing that. And so by the time I got out of high school, I shed my glasses. I was going out on dates, like girls liked me, and I was so excited, and I had this confidence. Things were going amazing. And then I took a drastic U-turn, right? Because sometimes when we're up here and things are getting better, the legs get kicked out from underneath us. And so I was working in a nursing home. I had built up good credit. I bought a brand new truck. I was paying off these credit cards. And things were going good. And then I said, you know what? I'm not meant to be working in a nursing home. I'm meant to be in business. I've got this personality that I'm finding out that I should be working in some kind of sales. And so one day I was looking in the newspaper and I saw this amazing ad. And I'll never forget it. It said, do you like making money? Yes, that's a check. That's what I'm looking to do. Do you like sports? Oh my gosh, like these people are reading my mind. And then the last thing was, do you like meeting members of the opposite sex? Well, I'm 21 years old. Yes, yes, yes. Where do I sign up? Let's go. So I go to the job interview, and I should have known something was up when I walked in. I had a 5-minute interview, and they said, you're in, you're start on Monday. And so I went promptly back to the nursing home I was working out, and I burned every bridge possible so I could never come back. Because I knew I was going to be a millionaire salesperson. Here's the limelight, right? I wish it worked out that easy. I wish it worked out that easy. I started knocking on doors selling coupon booklets, right? It's, driving my own car, driving my own brand new car all around the state, trying to pay for gas, just knocking on doors, trying to sell people coupon booklets. And I can tell you what, it didn't take very long before all the stuff that I did to build credit, to get new things, to be able to reverse the life that I so badly wanted to reverse. I wanted to make sure when I had a kid that we didn't have to live in apartments. I wanted to make sure that we could have nice new cars and we could go on vacations and we could do these things that I know my mom wanted to do, and she was working her butt off to be able to get it done. So first off, it's Mother's Day, right? We got a treat here today because my mom is actually in the room. Mom, can you stand up? Can everybody please give her a round of applause? If it wasn't for her, I would not truly be standing here today. We would never have gotten out of that house, and who knows what would have happened to me. So it truly is a life changer. But so we're at this point, and my insurance slipped off my truck. I was behind on my credit card bills. I was really scrambling. I found a decent job, but it was already so far behind. I had lapsed in my insurance game, and one day I was driving down the road, and it was the worst winter storm we had in several years, and I had a Ford Ranger, and I'm driving down the road, and I hit a snow patch, and all of a sudden I go head on towards another vehicle. And I pulled my steering wheel, and I did a 180, and I hit a snowbank, and I stopped, and I had enough time to think, whew, that was close, before my vehicle tipped over and went down a 20-foot ditch, and I landed on my top. And I heard people arguing over who was going to look inside the truck because they just knew that I was dead. And then here I am hanging by my seatbelt, trying to get out. The tow truck driver thought he was doing me a huge favor when he told me that he totaled my truck out, but he didn't know that not only did I not have insurance, but I didn't even have a driver's license. I'm sitting in the cop car, and I'm trying to figure out, I'm going to not only ruin my life here, but I'm going to go to jail on top of it, and I'm going to lose my job because I'm not going to get to work. What am I going to do? Wow. And so I went through this thing. I became this guy. I had lost all my weight, and then I became this guy. Because you know what? I defined myself on my mistakes. It's so funny because if I would have told 22-year-old me that I was up here telling this room my story, my head would have exploded. I would have never thought I would share this deep intimate story with you. But this is the cool thing. I see so many times we define ourselves by our past mistakes. We define ourselves by our past actions. We define ourselves because we didn't graduate college, or we feel bad about ourselves. I did. My worth was on my credit score. You know, I always thought it was cute when bill collectors would call me and say, we're gonna put this on your credit report. Is that it? You're gonna put it on my credit report? All right, I think I got a 2. Have at it, credit's ruined. The only thing I can do is hope to have a kid that I can teach him some good habits because I'm done. There's no way I'm going to rebuild this. And I defined myself by that, so I collected bill collectors. And it was one of those things, my phone would just blow up and I started to hate the phone ring. I got a gut pain every single time I did. What I learned, though, is that I am not the accumulation of my mistakes in my early 20s or at any time. So we're all, stop beating yourself up for what you've been through. Stop beating yourself up for making mistakes. Because we all make mistakes and we're all going to have failures. But we got to move forward because the only thing we can do to get ourselves out of those mistakes is take that first step forward. Either we win or we learn, but we don't dwell If you're winning, great, because you can still get better and you can analyze what's going on. If you lose, then you learned a lesson. You learned a lesson. You learn what you can do the next time to get better. You can learn what you wouldn't do the next time. But don't hold yourself back because that thing happened and now you feel like you're ruined. Because I can tell you what, nobody else thinks that. I used to judge myself by being that guy. I used to judge myself by being the guy with the mullet. I used to see myself as that every single day when I looked in the mirror. But then when I met new people, they didn't see me as that. So things are starting to get a little bit better. And I found the chance, actually, to one day I walked into a room and I was looking for a new job and I saw this little tiny cell phone store in Benton, Michigan. And I just so happened to drop a resume in and I left. It was just an afterthought. I had a good conversation with the previous place I stopped into, so I thought I was getting a job there. And so it was just an afterthought. On my way home, I got a call from this guy named Dean. And Dean said, "Hey dude, you want to come in for a job interview?" And so I turned my truck around and I met up with Dean and I got the job that day. And there was something about Dean. Have you ever met somebody that you said, "I want to be like that guy"? Like he seems like he has it all figured out. I want to be like that guy. And so I set forth and I said, you know what? I've read a lot of books. I had some really good friends that introduced me to personal development. And so I was constantly reading books and going to seminars and listening to tapes and finding the things that could get me out of this depression that I was in. And I started to lose weight. And I started to have that success. And then I found my mentor. I'm telling you what, if you're looking for a mentor, the best thing to find is someone that's not going to make it easy for you. Because they need to change what you think. They need to change your perception. And Dean never made it easy on me. He always pushed me. And I hated it sometimes. I'd get so mad. But then, because I was like, how could I please this guy? And I realized one day that he's doing this to make me better. And then one day it clicked. I had taken the store, I'd been promoted to manager, and I took this store that was the worst store in the whole entire company. They were going to shut this store down, and he promoted me to manager, and he believed in me. It's the first time someone said, you could be a leader if you listen to me, if you take my mentorship. So be coachable, everybody, because there are those people out there that want to help you. So I listened. I said, I'm going to listen to whatever he says. I'm going to be his right-hand person. I'm going to move up in leadership. I'm going to one day be him in an organization. In one day, I had taken this store and I turned it into it was the worst store in our company. I turned it into the highest producing store in the whole entire Midwest region. Not just our company, but in the whole entire Midwest region within the whole entire organization of Verizon. It was big, it was awesome, it was amazing. I felt so good, I felt so accomplished. And one day I get an email because I was bad at the little things and I wasn't making cash deposits. And so every week I'd have like 5 cash deposits sitting in the back room. And so I get an email one day from the boss, who I see once a year. And I just took his company, his store, and I turned it into a mass producing store. And I'm so arrogant about myself, and I get this email and it says, "You are horrible," he says. And I'm just paraphrasing now, but this is how I read it. "You are horrible. You might not even be a fit for our company. What can I do to get you to make cash deposits?" And I was so mad I wanted to say, "Screw you! Screw you, Rob Emery." And then I got home, and I started thinking about this. No matter how much I sell, no matter how well I've worked with people, no matter what I do with this team, if I don't do those little things, if I don't make cash deposit, how upset am I if he doesn't deposit my check on Friday? And I started to realize it was a major life-changing moment for me to realize what it takes to be on the other side, to be a leader. There's major change. So identify your resources. We have books, we have tapes. We live in a time right now where you can find any resource you could possibly want. You want to fix your brakes on your car, go look up YouTube, you can find it. You want to become a motivational speaker, you can do it. You can find it. But the thing that will change your life is finding people that will help you, that will lead your way. When I started my business, I found James Lewis. And James Lewis helped me put my business together and take it to another level. People can help push you out of your mindset. And I hope everybody agrees that you can't change it. You can't change your life. You can't do anything different unless your mindset is different. What we think produces our results. My next point, make declarations. What does that mean? So, like I told you, when I met my mentor, I said out loud, I set goals, and I said, this guy could change my life. I got to attach onto this guy. And so I set a goal to become his right-hand guy. I said I was going to be the top leader in the company. I said I was going to produce the top store in the company. And I did. It was 6 months in, and we had tripled the store profit. And we hit $36,000 in gross profit in a month, and I was so pumped up, and I was so cocky, and I was so arrogant. I remember I told my boss, next year, if we don't hit 80,000, you should fire me. And I'll never forget, he always pushed me, right? But he looked at me and he said, Jason, don't set yourself up for failure. Our best store won't do that number. Our best store won't do that number. And so if you set that goal, you're gonna set yourself up for failure because it's not possible. And then you're gonna become disappointed. Some days he pushed me by being direct. Some days he pushed me by not believing in me. And I'm telling you what, I took that. I wish I could tell you that I had a plan, but I didn't. I just knew that I was gonna achieve it. And you know what, he was right. It didn't take me, I couldn't achieve that in a year. I achieved it in a year and 1 month. I hit 82,000 in gross profit in 1 year and 1 month. That deserves an applause! Yeah! It was amazing, it was my life moment, right?
Yes.
When it was time to leave the company, somebody asked me, what are you gonna do next? And I said, I sat in my living room, and I'll never forget it. My wife, Tracey, was in the room, and I said, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna become dean in another company. I'm gonna lead that company to the top. I'm gonna beat Dean every single month in the awards. I'm gonna beat his company. I'm gonna become better than him. And then I told the person I was talking to, and I'm gonna hire you, and you're gonna become my top salesperson. A year later, after Dean was at a meeting, and he was making fun of me because I was working for a company with very low resources. This company was bankrupt, and I got this opportunity to take a company that was bankrupt and lead it to the top. And it was so amazing, and it was so fun. But I was at this meeting, and Dean told me that was making fun of me because he flew in and I had to drive to Indianapolis. And he said, I can't take my awards back because I have too many of them and they won't fit in the airplane. So can you drive them back and then just get them to me later? He stoked a bear that day. He stoked a lion. But I can tell you what, I took a picture of those awards into my company meeting, and I declared to everybody in that room that next year we will be standing on stage and we will have every single award. We got 3 out of 4 in the Midwest region for the top locations in the whole entire region for the quarter, or for the year. We took 3 out of 4 quarters. And then I declared that I was gonna be a speaker, a coach, and a motivator. I was gonna start my own business. How about that? How about that? So there's a power. There's the power of having a vision. There's a power of being so convicted in that vision that you go and you make it happen and you tell other people. Because when you tell other people, I'm not talking about tell the haters, people that are gonna naysay you. And you know what? Tell them. Because you know what? I want to go find Curtis Burton from elementary school who told me I would never be a leader. Told me I was always a follower. And I want to show him this picture. I've looked for him everywhere. You know, in the days of social media, you think you'd be able to find somebody. I can't find this kid. I want to tell him I'm a leader. Look at me. So I started my business. And even though I was so pumped up, I knew this was my purpose. I knew it was what I was made for. I started my business, and I didn't have the belief that I was going to last for a year. And so it's not a surprise that at 6 months, stuff really hit the fan. My grandma passed away, major person in my life. The day after my grandma's funeral, my wife lost her job. I'm starting this business that hasn't capitalized and started making revenue yet. And I'm trying to figure out, do I quit? Do I throw in the towel? Is it time to run its course? And I was sitting and I was steaming my clothes. It's either the shower or the steaming my clothes where all my ideas come from. I started thinking, I started asking myself questions like, have I done everything that I can do to have success? No. What can I do to build this business? And all of a sudden, the answer started popping up and revealing itself. Have I done what I did before to create success? Did I work my process? And I said, no. Am I seeing people as people, or am I seeing them as objects because I need to make money in any way that I can? And I realized that even though I teach people to see people as people, I was thinking of objects, and I was trying to make every square peg fit into a round hole. And so I decided that day that all these experiences in my life had prepared me to own my own business and to run my own business. It prepared me to go to that next level. I started thinking about making it through abuse, making it through all the limiting beliefs that I had of being in debt, having bill collectors call, and feeling less than human. All these negative self-doubt, everything that I've overcome has prepared me that this is easy. All I've got to do is apply myself. All I have to do is work this system. So I took the next step. Talking about turning tragedies into triumphs. If I reflect on my life, if it wasn't for, I used to be a victim, and I was afraid of a person. I was afraid of people, period. I used to be a victim, and I was so ashamed of all these things that happened. But you know what? If I wouldn't have had the dad that I had, if he didn't do the things he did, I wouldn't be the person that I am now. And so I started to find areas of strength in my experiences. If I didn't have the mom that I had, I wouldn't be the person that I had. I wouldn't maybe care as much about people. I wouldn't want to help people like I've been able to commit my life to. If it wasn't for the way my dad raised me, maybe I wouldn't have wanted to be a good father. Maybe I wouldn't have poured my life into my son and my family like I wanted to. Now, I remember when I found out I was having my son, my brother Jordan was the first person I told, and I'll never forget. I told him, I get to do it right this time. I get to do it right. I get to show my son a life that we didn't have. I get to be a father. I get to do these things. And oh my God, it's the best experience of my life. To be able to give him those things, to be able to give my wife those things that my father couldn't give. You know what? And I think my dad committed suicide at 42 years old, and I think I was the victim. No, he was the victim. Because he has two amazing kids out there making it happen. He has two amazing people, amazing kids that are helping people. But he ended his life in a garage one day because he didn't see any love around, because nobody loved or cared about him anymore. And that's the victim right there. I'm not the victim. He's the victim. So I was able to move past that, because everything that I've experienced has turned into my financial situation, being in those lowest of lows, being the lowest commission salesperson. I used to revere that. But then I found that was my biggest strength when developing people, because I was able to have the empathy, to be in their shoes. I understood where they were coming from. And so that was my biggest strength when working with salespeople. I can guarantee you all have things that have happened to you. You haven't realized or thought about it, but it's actually your strength. I'll leave you with this. A lot of times, our minds protect ourselves from pain. When we have that fear and limiting belief, when we have that moment, we say, I can't do that. Nobody wants to hear from me. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. It's protecting us from pain. But you know what the funny thing is? Is that we're going to experience pain no matter what. But I can tell you what, the pain of giving up, the pain of not living your dreams, the pain of not trying your vision is going to create resentment. It's going to fester, and you're going to sit on your deathbed and you're going to say, I wish, I wish, I wish. So if anything I can end this with and inspire you right now, go out there today. You're going to experience pain, but the pain of achieving, the pain of grabbing your vision, that's going to create strength, and you're going to be so proud of yourself at the end of the day. Jason, Tracey, it's been a pleasure speaking to you all.
So I want to again thank you guys for coming out. I'm going to bring our next speaker, Dariel. You're come on up and tell him your story. And I'll be ready. You thought the last story was big.
How's everybody doing? Well. Yeah. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
Thank you.
My mother's in the audience today, 108 years old. So that's great that she's 63 years old. What determines the quality of our lives? Is it determined by our circumstances? Is it determined by how people treat us, what they do or say to us? Many people believe the circumstances of our life affects the quality of our life. The lyrics to one song says, to live is to suffer, and to survive is to find meaning in that suffering. That's a hard reality to live in, but it's one that many subscribe to every day. Every day someone gives up on their goals and their dreams. Why? Maybe they didn't believe they could be happy. Maybe they didn't believe they could be successful. Or maybe they allowed someone else to make them believe they couldn't achieve their goals and their dreams. Circumstances can have a great effect on the quality of our lives. That I won't deny. But what I will emphatically say is they do not control it. I found myself at a place where I was on the verge of giving up. And I had to do something to stop my life from spiraling down. And nobody had any answers, literally. You know, when someone would hear my story for the first time, they would literally say, I have no answers. But I needed answers. But I wasn't looking for someone's opinion as to how I could get over my pain. I was looking for a proven strategy. And what I learned is that we live from within out. That within us, we have the tools to not only overcome any pain or any challenge in our life, but we have the unwavering power to excel to any level and to create whatever life we want for ourselves. Pain is something that I'm very familiar with. 2018 was a very painful year for me. It was a Tuesday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was at work in my office, and I got a call on my cell phone. It wasn't a number I had ever seen, but something told me to answer the call. Hello, this is Dariel. On the other end, a voice started to speak. Mr. Walker, this is Captain whatever from the Michigan State Police Department. Did I catch you at a good time? Yes. Now I'm really confused. Why would the Michigan State Police be calling me? He said, what's your location, sir? I'm at work in Royal Oak. And I have a nervous feeling while I'm waiting to hear what this is about. Are you available to meet? We need to speak with you. I said, are my kids okay? He didn't answer. He just said, we'd rather talk to you in person. We can meet you at your home, or you can come to the station. That caught me off guard. He wanted to meet me at my home. I'd never received a phone call like that before. I started to get nervous. When I got to the station, we went to a room. There were so many thoughts in my head. Confusion and nervousness were the strongest emotion. As we sat down at a table, I knew from his demeanor something was wrong. That's when the captain began to tell me the car that belongs to my kid's mom was found in Bay City, which is about 100 miles from where either of us live. He said the car was found in the back of a water treatment plant and that she had driven there and taken her own life. But first, she took the lives of both of my kids, Michaela and DJ. My greatest fear was realized. I didn't realize it at the time, but I began to go into shock. I felt pain, but the real pain didn't come until much later. I had just spent Valentine's Day with my kids. And a week later, I was identifying their bodies. There were no words to describe the pain I felt. As I stood over Michaela and DJ's bodies in Swanson's funeral home, I laid my hands on them and I made a statement. That for me was a promise. I said, my kids are not dead. My kids are alive, and they will live through me. I was committed to delivering on that promise. But then reality stepped in. And as the shock started to subside, I found myself going deeper and deeper into depression. My whole world became dark. I could hear the sound of death knocking at the door. And I was ready to let it in. At that point in my life, death looked like a pretty good option. I used to tell the kids that we're never apart. I will always protect you. If you need me, call me. And Dad will be there. Every day after the funeral, I could hear their voices crying out. Dad, where are you? Dad, we need you. But Dad never came. And I swallowed that pill night after night after night. The pain was so strong and so intense, I couldn't continue living in that reality. Because for me, that reality was a living hell. My mind wouldn't stop. I was trapped in a maze of confusion. I wanted to honor them, but it was too hard. I didn't have the strength to honor them. All I wanted to do was give up. I would work on ideas, but then every 3 or 4 days, I would quit. Depression was hard. There were days I hit the snooze button so many times the clock would look at me. Like, dude. I was an hour to 2 hours late for work sometimes. The strength it took just to get out of bed and just to take a shower, that was all the energy I had. Sometimes I would lay back down after I took a shower. I didn't have the strength to get up. I didn't have the strength to fight. I didn't even have the strength to try. It got so bad, I started drinking at 7 o'clock in the morning just to numb the pain, just to have the strength to get out of the house. But the alcohol didn't help. The alcohol just made it much worse. It intensified the pain I was feeling, and it made it last longer. My mind was a sea of thoughts that lived in a body of pain. People would ask me if I stopped believing in God. And I didn't stop believing in God, but that wasn't the whole story. What I wasn't saying was, I was afraid of God. I thought God didn't like me. I would try to pray, but for a while, no words would come out. When I was finally able to, I asked the wrong questions. I thought they were the right questions, but only because I was focused on the wrong things. Every day I would sit in the darkness of my life and ask God, why? Why did this happen? Why didn't he let me die instead? And several other questions that only made things worse. Still, I continued to ask, and I got no response. Until one day, again, I asked the question. This time, I got a response, but I heard just 4 words. And those 4 words changed me. God whispered, "It's not about you." What? It's not about me. What do you mean it's not about me? My kids are gone. My life is gone. I have nothing. I can't take this pain, and I want to die. I don't know what it's about, but it feels like it's about me. After that day, things started to change. I changed my focus, and my life began to change. I stopped asking why, and I started asking how. How can I honor their lives? What lessons can I learn from this? And things started to be revealed to me. "2018 was a hard year for me, but 2017 was also rough. And I remember a friend of mine sending me a note that said, 'You are given this mountain to show others it can be moved.'" That was powerful. I was living in the dark shadows of hopelessness, and I was ready to give up. Then I made a decision that I wasn't going to give up. I was going to get up and live for Michaela and DJ. I decided I wasn't going to honor them by living in darkness. I decided I wasn't going to honor them by living in despair. I decided I was going to honor them by being the best me that I could be every day. And I began to look for ways to make myself better, to make myself stronger. But in order for me to do that, my focus had to change. So instead of focusing on the problems, I started focusing on the time we spent together. Instead of thinking about my loss, I started to appreciate the time we had together and how thankful I was that they were in my life at all. Because I know that I am a better person, in part because of them. When we focus on our problems, we continue to live in our problems. But when we focus our minds on the things that we want, on finding solutions, getting better, and getting wiser, that's when things will start to change for us. Can you think of a time in your life when you had a challenge or a painful situation and it felt so painful you didn't know if you could make it through? Well, I've been there too. And what I want you to know is that you have a champion living inside you. You have a power so great that it can empower you to excel to any level and to create whatever life you want for yourself. You just have to learn to access it. And the power is within us all. And here's how you activate it. 1, you have to decide Everything starts with a decision. You have to decide what you want. This past year, I've had an accelerated lesson in the power of decision. I made some big decisions in my life this past year. One of the big decisions I made was to walk away from a 20-year career in the automotive industry to pursue a different path, the unfamiliar path. And I remember the first conversation I had with Nicole, and I was referred to her from somebody that I met at an event. And I called her up and introduced myself. We exchanged our greetings, and I told her I wanted to go into public speaking, and I was looking for somebody to coach me. And she said, okay, great. She didn't know what she was getting into. She said, what do you need help with? I said, well, I talk in a monotone. I'm a bad communicator. I don't know how to write a speech. I don't know how to tell my story. And I have a fear of public speaking. All I heard was, whoop. Then after a long pause, she said, okay. But there's power in a decision. You might not know how, but if your why is strong enough, the how will come, the how will unfold. So you have to decide. And when you don't decide, indecision has just as much power as decision. Decision takes you to where you want, indecision takes you to where you don't want to be. So you have to make a decision. Step 2 is focus. You have to focus on what you want. And that sounds simple, but it's not that simple. Because in most cases, we focus on the things that we don't want, not what we do want. And thoughts are things. So whatever the dominant thoughts in our mind is what's gonna manifest into our lives. So we have to focus on the things that we want. And I'll give you an example. There's a young lady and she wanted to start a new career, and she was asked why she wanted to start a new career. And she could answer the question one of two ways. She could give all the reasons why having a new career would empower her and better her life, or she could give the reasons why having a career would take her away from the problems that she has, and how she would have to spend time where she doesn't want to be. So one of those is taking you to where you want to be. The other one is taking you away from where you want to be. So you have to focus on what you want and not focus on what you don't want. And we have to take control of our minds. The next step is we have to believe. We have to believe like children. And that's one of the things that I learned from Michaela and DJ. Because as adults, we get too skeptical. We have to make plans, and then we have to believe in those plans. Another word for belief is faith. Are we able to see things that don't exist? Yes, we can see things. If we couldn't see things before they exist, this building wouldn't be here. So we can see things before they exist. And that's why I could walk through the valley of the shadow of death, because I can see the other side. And the next step is to learn the power of purpose. Having a strong purpose in life can get you through all types of obstacles. Michaela and DJ are no longer here in the physical, but they are still my why. I still want them to be able to look down from heaven and be proud and say, that's my dad down there. So that's what I strive to do every single day, is to make them proud. I also learned something. The key to have whatever you want in life. I learned this, and I'm going to share it with you guys. So the key to have whatever you want in life, ask. End of notes. You have to ask for what you want. And that sounds simple, but many people don't ask, and that's why you don't have what you want. Failure to ask. And sometimes we ask poorly. It's like going to a lake and taking a teaspoon instead of a bucket. You have to ask for what you want. So we have to ask and we have to believe. My two little champions live inside me now. But what I learned is that we all have a champion inside of us. And when we activate that champion, we access our potential and we activate our greatness. And although Michaela and DJ are no longer here in the physical, the impact of their lives will continue on. Because Michaela and DJ birthed a movement called the My Little Champions organization. And our mission is to honor the lives of two little angels as well as countless others who have lost their lives by showing the world that in the face of adversity, you can win. I'm Dariel Walker, Michaela and DJ's dad. I am the message. Thank you.
Okay, folks, you got a little breather again, so go shake the goodie tray.
Thank you for coming out today. And are you ready to ascend to new heights?
Yeah.
Are you ready to go beyond the sky's limit to places that you have never been before? If you are, say, I am.
I am.
All right, well, let's go. So, today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 points, okay? The first one is you're going to stop making excuses. The second one is, you're going to be consistent. And then last but not least, you are going to dump dead weight.
All right.
Okay? So I have a little story for you before I get into those, and then I'll tie them all in together. So back in 2013, I was working for a subsidiary of Ford Motor Company. I had been working there for about 6 years as the receptionist of the company, and I enjoyed my position very much. It allowed me to meet international people from broad and afar. And it allowed me to have phenomenal relationships with the executives in the company, the building maintenance people, as well as the other tenants in the building. I had the best position. Not only that, but I was the gatekeeper of the company, and I was the first Black person to be in that position. And that was phenomenal, okay? So there was going to be a changing of the guards. The president of the company was retiring, and there was going to be a new president coming aboard. So all the while we had male presidents who, were the president of the company, and this time we were going to have a female. Ooh, interesting. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm still going to be in my position. However, has anyone ever read the book or heard of Who Moved My Cheese? Anybody ever heard about that? And so we know that when change comes, it's not always something that we're in agreement with at that time, right? But in my mind, change was good because, hey, it's going to be a woman running this organization. So I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be great. And then I got tapped on the shoulder, and I was asked to be the executive assistant to the president. That was a huge promotion, okay? And I'm thinking like, wow, this is gonna be awesome. I'm about to get promoted. I'm gonna be the assistant to the president of this large organization. Oh my gosh, it's beyond the sky's limit from there for me, right? So, about January 2014, a thought comes to my mind. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to own my own business. So I'm thinking, okay, well, what type of business would I own? And what would the name of that business be? I have no idea. So I prayed, and I said, Lord, what is this business that you want me to have, and what is the name of it? And within a few days, he gave it to me. He gave me Strategic Image Consulting, LLC. Now, because I did not quite know what I was going to be doing at the time, I went on ahead and I reserved the name with the Michigan.gov. And it just so happened that that name was available, so it was all mine. And I put it on hold, so this way no one else could take it in case they got the thought. But I still didn't quite know what exactly I wanted to do. So pondering that idea is great. Yes, you're going to be an entrepreneur and this, that, blah, blah, blah. But when are you going to do this? When are you going to become this entrepreneur? I don't know. Well, for those of you who know that sometimes I'll use a nice word, you're ushered into certain positions. But in this situation, I was pushed. So I remember one day, I had this feeling like I was about to lose my job. And I'm like, this feels very uncomfortable. So we'll just see. So what I did was, I took all of my belongings, I put them in a box, and I took them home. The next day, the president came to me and she said, oh, Nicole, where are your things? Where's your pictures? Where are the pictures of your children? And, all those pictures that you usually have. And I said, well, I just decided to take them home because I needed to clear my mind. That was the end of that discussion. So then the very next day, I had a conversation with the CFO, and she whispered to me, Nicole, you might want to look out for the best interests of you and your daughters. WTHECK. What the heck? I'm about to get fired from my job? I have been on this job for 6 years. I just got this huge promotion, and there may be some people who know, Ford Motor Company, they give out bonuses to those who work, or whatever, but the subsidiary of Ford Motor Company that I worked for, we got profit sharing. And it was so great. Like, we were getting like over $20,000 every year for profit share. Oh my gosh. So I remember having a conversation with another coworker before this actually all went down. And I remember him saying, who would ever want to leave here? And I said, well, what if you could go somewhere else and either make the same amount of money or more? And he just looked at me and said, that's crazy. I was like, it's not crazy. He said, well, that's stupid. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna own my own business one day. So back to this being ushered or pushed into this position, into this position, yes. So on March 27th, 2014, I got fired. And it was so interesting because I knew it was about to happen, because I knew back in January, because I had this unction, this feeling that was going to happen. And it's like, what do you do next? All I know is to work. I have 3 daughters, you guys. And my oldest daughter was in college at that time, out of state. Anyway, so as I was about to leave out of the room with with the president and the HR manager, I asked them, well, do you want me to close the door behind me? They said yes. Now, it took every bit of myself to not slam that door because I was angry. How dare you fire me for no reason? There was no reason. And for any of you who have ever worked in corporate America or still do, you know that we work in a at-will state. So it doesn't matter. You can sneeze and they can say, escort you on out the door, okay? So there was no legitimate reason as to why. It was just, okay, you're leaving. Okay, that's fine. So I sit at my desk a little while and I start sending emails to my work buddies. And I'm like, okay, well, I just got fired. I'm leaving, and they're like, what, wait, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm leaving. So again, it was so great that I had that unction. It was like the Lord spoke to me and was like, okay, you're being ushered out, but it was a setup. And the setup was so that I could start my own business. But of course, when it's not you who's making the moves and someone else making these decisions for you, there's so much pushback, because you're like, okay, wait, I'm not ready. Like, I need to make sure that I plan this out. I need to make sure that I have this right. I need to make sure that I have this right. And again, I had 3 daughters, 1 in college. The best part about this situation was that I had a 401k that I just was not paying attention to, and I had a whole lot of money that I was able to live off of for at least 2 years. That was a blessing, okay? And so I still was trying to think about what I was gonna do. And I remember I had joined Toastmasters International back in 2011. And I just so happened to get a call from a woman that was a member of the club. And she called me and asked me to help her write a speech that she had to give for a church that she attended. Hey, is this what I'm about to do? Right now it is. So I go to her home and I help her write her speech. And later on, she told me, she said, Nicole, that was the best sermon that I had given. She had standing applause and everything. And I'm like, oh, I might have found my niche. Toastmasters has really worked out for me after all, right? So after that, I got a call from a high school in Farmington Hills asking if I would train a group of students in public speaking. Well, of course I will. That's what I do. So I went on ahead and I started this Youth Toastmasters program. And then I got another call from a second high school in Farmington Hills to start another club. And so I did that. And so it was just this big rave. They're like, who is this person? Who is Nicole? Who is Nicole? And it's just like, okay, she's doing Toastmasters. Anyway, but still yet, that was not the defining moment of what strategic image consulting was going to be about. So later on, in 2016, I ran into a man that I had met some years prior because I'm an entrepreneur. So the businesses that I have now are not the first one. I actually started my first business in 2005 with my twin sister. We started a residential and commercial cleaning company. And that took off very, very well. But one of the issues that I had, and I'm going to share with you, this is the first point, stop making excuses. Now, I was a teen mom, and my mother, who is in the room today, I love you, Mom. She told me when I had my daughter, she said, you will not get on public assistance, you will go to work. So that is what I did, and that is what I knew, was to be a provider to my children. And I thank her for that because it gave me the skills and the mindset that I have now to keep going forward in face of adversity and to not give up. You have to persevere, okay? So I'm going forward. But I started making excuses for myself. Oh, I have 3 children. I can't possibly do this. I can't do that because I have to go pick up the children from school. Oh, no, I can't do that because, that's going to take away money from me being able to make sure that my children are taken care of. Those excuses, okay? But we know that as long as you continue to make excuses, you'll never do what you set out to do. Whatever goals and dreams and aspirations that you have, they'll just be those, goals, dreams, and aspirations without any action put forth into them. So they'll never take place. So how do you stop making excuses? Well, for me, I realized that by making those excuses, it was preventing me from propelling to the next level in my life. And I'm a person who does not like stagnation. I do not like being in one spot at the same time all the time. I like to move around. I'm like a social butterfly. I'm always floating around, meet new people. Hey, how you doing? My name is Nicole. How you doing? Hey, what's your life like? What's going on with you? That's the type of person I am. And so I said, okay, I'm going to stop making these excuses. And I'm going to take one step forward, and then I'm going to take another step forward. And as I made those steps forward, doors began to open and opportunities began to open too. So in 2016, I met a man who worked for the Neighborhood Legal Services of Michigan. And he asked me if I would join their team as a consultant. So they hired my business to go into Detroit Public Schools to train their students in public speaking. Oh my gosh, that was huge. Now, mind you, making those excuses because, I made good money working for the subsidiary of Ford Motor Company. And again, I had 3 children, And so how was I going to do these things? But this opportunity presented itself and gave me the excelling that I needed in order to move forward. So with that, I'm like, okay, that's good, but yet still, what is strategic image consulting? What do you do? Well, right now you're just teaching children how to speak, how to prepare speeches, how to present themselves, how to pace the floor as they're speaking, how to make eye contact, because you've got to make sure that you make eye contact. Because of course, for those who have been afraid of public speaking, I know I used to hear, well, if you're afraid to speak, just look to the back of the room and no one will ever know. And so this is what I tell my students, and I'm going to demonstrate this with you right now. If I am giving a presentation and I'm speaking to you right now, I'm looking to the back of the room, okay? If you want your audience to be engaged in what you're saying, then you have to make eye contact. So at this point that you're watching me pace this floor here, this stage, and I'm speaking, do you feel that I have engaged you in the conversation in which I'm speaking now? Yes or no?
Yes.
Somebody said yes. That's okay, because you're actively listening. I get it. But no, so you have to make that eye contact with your audience because you want to bring them in. I mean, I don't know about you, but anytime I'm speaking, it would be nice to see someone either nod, give you a smile or something. Thank you, Miss Tracey. I thank you so very much. But you want to make sure that that's something that you're doing. So from there, I was asked to speak at different community events. And what I started observing was that there were a lot of people who lacked those skills. And so I said, hey, this is going to be great. So as Dariel mentioned, when I met him last year, and he told me that he wanted to be the #1 motivational speaker in the world. And I'm like, ooh, okay, well, what am I working with? And then again, he shared with me his story. And that right there, when I hung up from Dariel, I said, Lord, what am I going to do with this? Because this is heavy. And I just have a heart, a very tender heart for people who have experienced different things. And sometimes, you can allow that to interfere with your business and what you do. And so instead of, he would always tell me, Nicole, I need you to be hard on me. I need you to be, forceful with your words. And I'm like, but I'm not that type of person, Anyway, so I stopped making those excuses, and it helped me to move forward in my career and open those doors. The second one is being consistent. You have to be consistent with self-improvement. You have to be consistent and diligent in what it is that you are seeking after. So if you are desiring to be an entrepreneur, or you're just desiring to do different things in your life, you want that change to occur. You're tired of the same mundane things over and over and over and over and over again. What kind of life is that? That's boring. Anybody like boredom? Anybody like to be bored? I do not like to be bored. So you have to be diligent. If you have goals that you've written down, say you want to take a vacation. How are you going to get there? Are you going to get there by continuing to just think about you wanting to go? Or are you going to take the steps that are necessary? If you're going to work with a travel agency, are you going to contact that travel agency? Are you going to ask them how much that trip is going to cost? Are you going to prepare your finances and start budgeting and doing whatever it is that it takes in order for you to go on that vacation? Or are you going to keep pondering it around in your mind, saying that's something that I want to do? If you desire to learn more. And I believe that Jason mentioned this in his presentation. You know, we have the internet at our fingertips. And now with Alexa and all these other technologies, all you have to do is speak and it happens. I was driving in a car one day going to the Ann Arbor Arts Festival, and me and the passenger, we were talking, and all of a sudden, Google said, "Are you sure that's what you want?" I'm like, what? Like, I'm not even talking to the phone. Actually, it's Google Maps that's on, but it was actually listening to our conversation. So, you know, it's that we have all of that we need. And then lastly, you have to dump dead weight. I had a business coach, and it started out great. The relationship was really, really great. She gave me very valuable information that I needed, but I started implementing them and I started moving forward. But she was still in the same place. And I'm like, okay, wait, that's good, because when someone has hired you to provide a service for them or something, you actually want them to go higher. That's what that's what you're meeting for, you know? Anyway, and so then after that, I'm like, okay, well, okay. So then furthermore, not only her, but there were some people that were around me who did not believe in what I wanted to do. And I have to say that I remember calling my mother one day, and I told her, because someone asked me about having a degree, and I do not have one, but I have a lot of experience. It's called The Life of Hard Knocks, because life experience you cannot get in a book. And then as long as you are reading and doing what's necessary to improve yourself, you can be better than anybody who has a degree. And don't get me wrong, I don't knock anyone. My oldest daughter is in the room now. She's in law school, so she has her degree, but I'm just saying. Anyway, but I remember talking to my mother one day, and I told her, I said, well, Mommy, I said, you know, people keep asking me, you know, well, where did you go to school and this, that, blah, blah. And then someone told me, oh, you'll never be anything. You'll never do what it is that you're trying to do because you don't have a degree. I was like, wow. So of course I called my mother, and I wasn't crying, but I'm like, okay, Mommy, I need you. And she said, listen, she said, God has qualified you. He has equipped you. He has given you everything that you need in order to succeed and go further in your life. She said, don't you dare listen to what they are saying to you, because those words are there to hinder you and to stop you from moving forward. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me dust myself off. Let me pick myself back up and let me get back on that road that I was on. And so with those three things, the dumping of the dead weight, the being consistent, and the stopping of making those excuses, that is why and how we are all in this room today. I started Success in Motion 2 years ago with conference calls. And you know, you can't see people because you're having conference calls. And then I remember one person telling me, oh, well, you know, that's all they're going to be. Oh, okay, well, let me show you. So now I'm going to have a conference, okay? Whenever I take my mind and I put my mind to doing something, I do it. And my thing is, someone told me before, they said, oh, you can't do that. And I said, you know what? Anytime I do something, I succeed. And the reason why is because I tried it. I fail if I do not try. But once I try it, I have succeeded. Now, whether it works or not, that's a whole different story. But at least I did it, and I am successful because I tried it. So I want to say to you, stop making excuses as to why you cannot do anything, as to why you can't go certain places, because beyond the sky's limit is to what you can have. Yes, we walk by faith and not by sight. So you may not always know where you're going or how you're going to get there. But as long as you walk by faith and not by sight and believe that you can get there, you are definitely going to get there. Man, shoot, drop the mic. No. Anyway, So, but be consistent in consistency. Change the way you think. Transform your mind. The Bible says to be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That means you constantly have to renew your mind every single day. When you have those self-defeated thoughts of, I can't do this, or I'm not going to get up, I'm not going to do this, you better tell yourself, yes, you will, yes, I can, and I will win, I will earn it, I will do it, I will win it, I will earn it, I will do it, I will win it. Constantly tell yourself that I am a winner. And I want you all today to stand up right now. What I want you to do, I want you to, just really quickly, I want you to write something on the paper that you need to let go of. What is it that you need to let go of? Just write down one or two things. When you write those down, I want you to tear that paper off. There goes one, there goes two. You're writing down those things that you need to let go of. What is it that is hindering you from moving forward? What is it that is preventing you from ascending to new heights? What is that thing? And I want you to think about that thing as if there was no limits, no boundaries. There's nothing standing in your way except that one thing. And there's something that we all have. It does not matter how young you are or how old you are. There's something that you have, something that you wish that you would have done, that you could have done, you should have done, but you have not done. And I saw this saying some years ago. You're never too old to become what you may have been. You're never too old to do what you thought you could do but have not done. So has everybody gotten that sheet of paper? Did you ball it? I want you to ball it up. I want you to get angry because that thing has been stopping you. It has been in your way. You are saying now, you are no longer in my way. I'm throwing you away. And I want you all to throw it, but not at me. So I want you to throw it to my right, maybe your left. But when you say it, I want you to say, I am success in motion. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, throw it. I am success in motion. All right, that's all right, but that's
Everybody go pick up that.
If you've benefited in any way from this and you'd like to leave a testimonial, at the camera, before you leave, we have this room till 3. Feel free to speak with the speakers as well. You don't have to run out of here. We have time to do all of that. Okay, thanks guys.
I enjoyed the passion and honesty of Jason's story. It really helped me to realize that even though you might believe that you're at the top, there are still other steps you can take to move forward. So looking in the future, second goals are definitely on the horizon for me after hearing everything that he had to say. I'll definitely come back for a second visit for the Success in Motion tour. It was awesome.
I would like to say that Dariel Walker was a great speaker. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Would you like to come see him again?
I will, yes, most definitely.
I find it amazing because as a mom of 3 children, it just amazes me that he is this strong and able to go on. And it really, like I lost my mother just almost a year ago, and I really am just, amazed that he can pull through and just, he's great. Yeah.
Would you be interested in coming back to see him?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Dariel Walker was a true inspiration of the story. It took a lot of heart to give what he had to give about himself personally. A lot of times we don't want to dig that deep and let loose the things that we've gone through, not realizing what we go through is a testimony to encourage other people that you can do it and that you can make it. And I wish him all the success in the world.
From all the speakers today, I learned 3 things. How to handle pain, how to make sure that I can rise and bring out the champion in my soul. Also how to be successful. and also how to deal with the loss. That helps me to move on with my life. So I will come back again, and I'd like to thank all the speakers, Mr. Walker, Jason, and Nicole. Wonderful job.
Absolutely love being a Success in Motion. Can't wait to come back to the next one. Listen to Dariel really hit me. We all go through things in life where you're going to get kicked down and get different setbacks, some more extreme than others, and listen to him articulate how he's able to get through that and just the motivation of moving life forward is just truly inspiring. Everyone was just great speakers, and can't wait to be at the next one.